somebody brought it to my attention that they thought they saw something in here. I have taken this image, I have upscaled it 4 times the pixel density. I'm going to zoom in, I'm going to verify and get a closer examination of what they believe might be a body. And then I'm going to show you where I have found a body. The guy is about 60 years old. It looks like I don't know, it's probably between 1 and 2 years old, maybe 5 years old. And then we're going to go to where I think a very recent body is located, I believe, and the flesh tone. What I'm going by is I've upsampled this. You're not going to see this on your original image. You have to upscale this. I'm going to start with something is obviously a body so that there's no question. And by the way, this is what I do. I take photographs from 1 to 3 miles, 10,000 images, and I examine them to look for human remains. And my YouTube channel is Alpine Forensics Locating. That's the name. That is my that's the screen name, and it's Live Life Safety is the channel. But and this has been upsampled. That's the only thing I've done to it. So I'm going to see if I can't find, and I'm going to just name him Old Joe because he looks like he's about 60 years old. And here he is. I just found him. Pretty easy to see. One of the things I do is I try to look at the geology. I look at the texture of the rocks. I try to understand what and I found I just found something else that I think I saw it before, but it's got my attention again. Maybe I'll show you why I think it's an important thing. Anyway, there's a lot of fragments of things that are of interest, but this is Old Joe. Let's go in here. We got his beard. Let's count the number of things that are it's like when you got the blind man looking at the elephant. One of them sees the foot, one of them sees the trunk, one of them sees the tail, the other one feels the texture, and it's all of it together that comes together to say, hey, that's an elephant. So let's count the number of things that we find here. We've got what looks like a beard, and it's not only look where a beard should be, it's white like a beard hair would be. We've got it at the position it should be if it's a skull. Okay. We've got a hole. If you look at any skeletons that have holes for the eyes, once the flesh is gone, this is consistent with that. We got a hole right here. And we have to also consider that if ravens come up, they're going to alter things. So things are not going to be exactly as you would expect to find them. The other thing is, if you look at the human skull right here over to the left, it's possible it's got a little bit of snow on it. But okay, so we're looking at the skull. So where the part where the nose is located, after a couple of years, you're going to just have an open space. So there's that is consistent with that of the things that are consistent with the human skull. Okay, so he's got some hair. So we've got where a hair would be if there was hair. And let's move down. Okay, so we got 2 knees. Not just 1, but 2. And not only that, but they're symmetrical in that it's almost a carbon copy of each other. The texture is consistent with possibly the clothing is still on. And then we've got something protruding down below, like maybe a foot. Okay. Right here, I'm seeing what looks like might be fingers. These little protrusions. What else? It looks like he's wrapped himself up in some type of a blanket or I don't know, one of those, it could be a coat or oh my gosh, a parka. You see this line right here? Like he wrapped himself up in it. Anyway, that's a pretty complete human remains site right there. I think that's of interest, but it's a couple of years old, maybe 1 year old. So I'm gonna go over to where someone had got my attention about they thought this might be a body. So let's zoom in. Again, I'm upsampled. And if you take the original image and you don't upsample it, you're not going to see this. And if you can't zoom in, you're probably not going to see all that. This is supposed to be the head, I guess. It looked like there might be the rest of the body down in here. But as we zoom in, it's something that somebody needs to get a better photograph. You know, the helicopter pilot, if he's got somebody with him that's got a P1000 Nikon that can zoom in 125 magnification, and they got a spotlight that's a laser, one of those $300 laser spotlights, and they zoom in to see these cracks, you're not going to be able to look into these cracks. The other thing I'm noticing, so this thing right here is, I'm not convinced of this. You know, if you don't have a high resolution where you've upsampled, you know, things can give you you can get a lot of false positive. And of the thousands of photographs I take, I get false positives all the time. I get things that are more convincing than other things. And so let's move over to the right. What I'm finding interesting in these cracks and crevices is what looks like an elbow and a hand. This looks like a shape of an elbow and a hand. And if somebody's trying to climb up into this crack or climb down from this crack, I'm seeing these shapes down into these cracks, okay? And what I'm concerned with and what gets my attention, oh, and I saw something else. Looks like an arm, a forearm, and a hand right there. But again, these could be false positives. We don't have a torso. We don't have a head. You got to verify. But the fact that somebody would choose this crevice to climb down that's a high probability. So that's where you're going to find people, is in these cracks. And the way you climb is you have to go in there and wedge yourself in. And if you get stuck, you're done, you know. But what I find interesting with this is there's a little white part right there that could be a foot. And then you've got your elbow, and it looks like this is a hand. If someone's turned sideways and they're trying to climb down that crack, you'd want to take a drone up there. You want to get really close. You want to move very slow, get high resolution, turn on that spotlight, look in those crevices. And if you're not using a high intensity spotlight beam with a telescope or something to get zoomed in, if you don't have a photographer or somebody that has a camera that can zoom in and you're on a helicopter, you're not going to find anything. You're not going to see this with the naked eye. It took me about 45 minutes with this photograph to even be able to look in these cracks, to do to zoom in. Okay, I mean, look how much I'm zoomed in here. That zoom level is something way over a spotting scope. Even with a spot, I have a spotting scope. I have a freaking telescope. I got a $4,000 telescope. I got a $1,000 P1000 Nikon camera that goes to 125 times magnification. You need that as a minimum in order to zoom in here and verify this stuff. So if you're going out there and you don't have a spotlight, get someone to understand that you need to have that spotlight. You need to buy one of those $300 spotlights that'll go for a mile that are laser or something the equivalent. And you need to be shining it right in this crack to examine it and take a video while you're doing it, because you need to look at it after the fact, because a lot of this stuff, you're not going to see it until you examine the footage later. 99% of the stuff I find is after I've taken the photographs home and I've examined it. Okay, so we're going to move over to where I think that something is even more convincing, and it's right here. You see this crack? The helicopter pilot's right here, so he can't see down in here. He would have to get into a very dangerous location where the wind can blow him into this side here. It'd be very dangerous for him to be in here, but you could do it if you were back and far enough. But you're going to have 125 times zoom on a Nikon P1000 or an 800 millimeter lens on a Canon. So you're going to have somebody that has a full frame camera with a high resolution and high zoom level to even go in here and verify this. Okay, so here's what I think is interesting. I'm seeing a knee right here. I'm seeing the shape of a knee. It's white, like the color of a knee should be at the knee. And then the other part is whiter, like the shape of a knee. I'm seeing the color of human flesh. And then this looks like it could be an elbow and a forearm. Okay. Now, let's contrast this with the snow. Notice that the snow is just pure white. This contains flesh tones here and here. But the thing that stands out is the shape. Okay, and this guy was I think he was 6 feet tall. So he's going to have a long torso. And if he's got his arm stretch up above his head, it's possible you're looking at the side of his face and his left arm instead of, I was thinking it was his right arm and his elbow, but it could be you're seeing the side of the face and the right arm or the left arm that's up above his head. And he's trying to climb down this crack. And again, when I see stuff like this that gets my attention, I got to go verify. I don't conclude, I got it, this is it. I got to go verify. And the only way I would be able to verify this is with a laser flashlight that can beam about a quarter of a mile. Because think about it, where's this helicopter going to have to be so he doesn't go crashing into the side of this mountain and he can get close enough to this to verify it? He's going to have to be about right here where we are. This could have been where another helicopter took a photograph, okay? So you're going to have to be with an 800 millimeter zoom or a 600 millimeter zoom on in there. 8 o'clock in the morning, the sun will be illuminating this crack right here. In fact, right at sunrise. And as I zoom in, notice as I zoom in here, I don't know if you just kind of get the vibe that this doesn't look like rocks. I get a human vibe out of this, especially that knee, especially this knee right here. And again, this is something you need to go up and verify. I didn't give enough credit to the person that snapped this picture of my personal analysis on CalTopo and looking at the terrain. You're not going to make it past here at night. This is as far as you're going to get. I just can't imagine somebody in the dark getting past this point. So that's what makes this photograph so critical, because he's got to be either up in one of these cracks or down here covered with snow. And where's the body going to fall? I mean, you're not going to get very far, because look at all the places you can get hung up. What struck my attention was we are right at the ridgeline. That's right here. And he's photographed the most important spot. These are things that should be verified. That's all I got. Thanks for watching.